It's a continuation of that dream. Wow. Wow, the score. Oh. Whoa. Oh, look at his nails. From the opening credits, right? My God.
なんかいろいろ寝言言ってたぞお前。父上とかアシュラットとか。アシュラットって人の名前？
どうしても夢の中身が思い出せない。
Oh, an empty man.
恐ろしい夢ってことだけはわかる。それに何かとても大事なことを忘れてしまっている気がする。
Oh.
でも忘れてはいけないような。なんだろう。
おい、この麦、もうこんなに
Hands off.
開いたばかりで知力がいいのか。いや、エイなるか。あいつが来てから急に開拓が進んだ。
I swear.
アシュラットは俺の父親を殺した
Oh, wow.
男だ。デーン人の戦争屋でな。
He did not just call him
強
Danish.
くて残酷な男だ。
Look at this. Look at how much he's opening up, though.
アシュラットを追って俺は戦場へ出たんだ。父親の仇を討つために。
Those hands brought
奴
a
は
lot
憎
of
かった。殺したいほど。
death, destruction.
アシュラットは俺じゃない男に殺された。俺の
And then,
目の前で。
talk it out, talk it out.
お前のそのいまいち元気がない理由は分かった気がするよ。
He understands.
夢
lost
に
your
まで
purpose.
見るってんだからまだ心の整理がついてないんだろうぜ。
それだけじゃない。もっと
Wow.
何か、もっと大事な何かを忘れている気がする。とても大事な。
Wow, look at the detail there. The eyes. I love the autumn colors in this one. It's getting to that point, right? In the
切れ
year.
って言われて吹っ切れるようなもんじゃん。
Yeah. And Einar.
けどよ、もうお前の敵討ちは終わったんだよ。
来るな、トルフィン。
本当の戦士になれ。トールズの子。
もう憎んではいないさ。だから困るんだ。
Ah. He's struggling with this feeling he has about him.
憎しみがなくなったら俺
I have no direction.
空っぽだ。
Oh, wow. Again. For the third time, they use that.
憎しみだけで生き抜いてきた。戦場以外に何も知らない。屋根の直し方一つ知らない。何もできない。
He'll help you.
何をしたらいいのかもわからない。空っぽなんだ。
Let's fill it. Let's fill that up. Nice and slowly.
働き。
あ、大旦那様。
口を動かす暇があったら働かんか。
Oh, folks, this feels like an all-timer already. Oh,
見とれよ
this is how you learn, Thorfin.
やってみもっと回すようにこうこうじゃ
I love him.
同じところへ続けて投げるな
はい。
これから覚えていけばいい一つ一つ
Oh, he was listening. Of course he was listening.
空っぽなら何でも入るじゃろう生まれ変わるつもりがあるならむしろ空っぽの方がいい
生まれ変われるでしょうか。
働き手が休んどるぞ
Wow. I have chills right now. Oh,
寒い雪降るぞこりゃ
the direction of this episode, though.
人間って変われるもんかな。どうしたら変わるんだろ
斧持って戦争やって略奪して酒飲んでなんぼのもんじゃいガハのハ
てかあれだろ今のお前を見てな元戦士だなんて思うやつは一人もいない
Other than maybe Snake.
う。そうかな。
人間は変われるよトルフィンお前は多分今いい方へ変わっている途中なんだと思うぜ
Man, Aner. Oh.
ありがとう、エイナル。どうした、エイナル。
Those fuckers.
麦が
Wow, this gives Thorfin a different type of perspective, right?
人の仕業か。なんで。
少しくらい風に倒されてもまた
He knows who did this.
それをよくわかってやがる奉公人だこんなことやるなあいつら以外にいねえ
待て、どうするつもりだ。
This might be that moment I've been dreading. He might catch a beatdown, a really bad one.
奴隷が自由民に手を出したら。
知るかぶっ殺してやる
Yeah, Thorfin. Yeah, it's your turn now.
お前状況が分かってねえのか
Yeah, I set them back a long time.
畑の知力は使っちまったのに収穫はなしだ
俺は今までずっと
Yeah.
奪ったり壊したりする側の人間だった。お前みたいに奉公人に腹を立てる資格が俺にはないんだ。お前が奉公人をぶっ殺すって言うんなら
Take me out as well.
俺もお前に100回はぶっ殺されなきゃならないはずだ。まず冷静になってくれ。頼む。エイナル。
Wow. Yeah, this is an all-timer.
確かにこれはひどいな私も奴隷の自分にはいろいろひどい目にあったものだ差別を好む者はどこにでもいるがそうでない者もいるくじけるなよ二人とも
Yeah. It's kind of doubling as the mood. This looks incredible. Oh my god.
相当旦那に気に入られてるらしい
So you found out, eh?
働き次第で解放するっていう俺たちみたいな契約がないそうだ気に入られてもつながれる嫌われりゃこの仕打ちだなんだ俺たちの命って
お噂をすればだぜ
He's gonna try to trigger him.
ようどうしたしょぼくれた面して
抑えろエイナル。相手にするな。
Defiant.
どうせ奴隷の作った麦だ。臭くて食えやしねえんだからや。
He's hoping for this. Ooh. Whoa. Holy shit.
折れてんじゃないの。
すっげえパンチ。
Oh god.
のガキャー。奴隷奴隷うるせんだよ。わめいてねえでかかってこい。
バカ、もうやめ。
トルフィー。
あれ、
He's gonna remember.
なんて。
He saw her in the dream, right? God, the score. This episode is something else.
父上が何か落ちる。
No! Wow, that was gripping. Oh. Okay, so, I said it a few episodes ago and I'll say it again. This is cinema. This is cinema. No one's doing it like this. This is just brilliant stuff. This is brilliant storytelling. I mean, whew. I called it an all-timer, and it was beginning to feel like that really early on as well. You could just tell. You could just tell really early on because of the tone, the presentation, the production side of things. The voice acting. Listen, that's maybe one aspect that I didn't really focus on, or I've recognized it, but I haven't really mentioned it in my discussions or reviews. But listen, man, the voice acting for Einar and Thorfin. Yeah, I'm going to have to look up their names. These voice actors, they're brilliant. And they're essentially carrying a lot of this because once again, a lot of this episode is a two-hander, right? Einar and Thorfin together in, a few different situations, talking it out, bonding, connecting, having a lot of emotional experiences together, even if there are some sad ones, some horrible ones you see right at the end there. But yeah, the voice acting is just brilliant. Einar's voice actor, oh my god, so charming, right? So charming. I mean, he completely just encapsulates the character that you're seeing on screen, right? I mean, Einar is such a special character. I just love him. I adore him. And, I'm not saying he's special because he's some unique and, mysterious character. No, he's special because he's just this normal guy, just full of life. I just love his humanity. Thorfinn is so incredibly lucky to have someone like Einar in his life. He's so lucky that someone like Einar came into his life because Einar has actually made such a difference. Of course, a lot of this episode is Thorfinn questioning that if he could possibly change, if people can change, let me kind of rephrase that. In the episode, right, he's asking questions like, can I be reborn? Can I really be reborn? To me, it also kind of felt like he's asking, do I deserve to be reborn? Do I deserve to have the second chance to change as a person? Am I capable of changing as a person, given the things I've done in my lifetime already, right? All of this plays a part in his psyche at the moment. But the thing is, he has changed already, right? You see Einar, of course, he's got those lovely reactions. At that one point, he kind of, looks right at Thorfinn just standing there. And he's just got this, he's got this wholesome smirk on his face. You know, he's like, you should look at yourself in your reflection in the water, my guy. You know, he has changed so much. You see it over the span of these episodes, right? He's learning. He's open to learning. He's diligent about learning, right? And he's making connections to these new things, new forms of creation, right? Of course, unfortunately, you know, their farm gets destroyed. And that right there gives Thorfin, listen, I don't want to be harsh and say a taste of his own medicine, but it does give him an understanding, right? I mentioned it gives him this different perspective at that moment to see all of that beauty just crushed and destroyed in an instant after the time and effort it took, right? To establish it, to build it, to create it. Because he himself states in this episode that, you know, he doesn't deserve to be angry. You know, he's not in a position to be angry because he himself has inflicted this and then some, right? His actions are actually, you know, far, I don't know. Listen, you know, I am trying to be a little bit easy on our dude, Thorfin, but you have to kind of, you have to address this because, of course, ultimately his own actions have been quite heinous, right? So he does not feel that he even deserves to be angry, right? And, you know, again, going back to my earlier point, that he even deserves to potentially be reborn or change as a person. You know, he must be feeling, do I even have anything to offer, right? To anyone, really, at this point in life. So, you know, he's tackling a lot of issues at the moment. And listen, you know, this final moment, him kind of getting or taking a blow to the head, to the back of the head. I mean, that's never a good thing. No, of course, you know, he'll survive. I know that much, of course. But, you know, taking that kind of blow, I mean, first of all, it seems like it is initiating another nightmare for him, right? It's kind of triggering another nightmare. And, you know, to me, it feels like ultimately he is going to have to face his demons. This reoccurring nightmare, as horrifying as it might be, and, you know, even earlier he mentioned, you know, I would love to just kind of forget about it. He also understands that it's not something he can forget about. So to me, it feels like right at the end they're set up there for perhaps a turning point, a crucial moment in Thorfin's trajectory, his character arc. You know, after all the buildup over the span of these past few episodes, and then of course this episode specifically as well, this moment, you know, it's quite the cliffhanger. But yeah, this moment could end up being the swivel, right? This crucial moment of self-revelation, perhaps, that could essentially make him, you know, pivot from his reactive phase over the past few years at this point. You know, it's been a decade, essentially, a little bit more than a decade, to more of an active mode, taking control of his life, his destiny, his trajectory in life, his goals in life, right? Yeah, I mean, the title of the episode, The Empty Man, that's certainly another major component of this episode, right? That he has no direction in life, right? He's essentially just existing, right? That there's no meaning behind any of his existence at the moment, right? And that's how you find him first in the first few episodes. To me, this feels like that perfect textbook approach of essentially trapping a character between his old lies and the new truth, right? It's all there, you know, in the form of these memories, these nightmares that haunt him, you know, these demons that haunt him, that pull him down into the abyss, right? And I feel like a part of him must feel that maybe he deserves to be down there, right? There is this notion of, you know, atonement, punishment. Maybe I do actually deserve to be tormented by my past, by my demons, by all the death I caused, right? These are the people in his nightmares are the people he had a hand in killing, right? It could be directly, it could be indirectly, right? Speaking of indirectly, you see the continuation of that phenomenal mini episode. Sorry about that, phone going off. But you see in the depiction of that he is so afraid of the person he used to be, right? And that he recognizes that he easily could have been the type of person who destroyed Einar's life and his family. Again, let's not forget that, you know, Einar did have a mother and a sister. You know, that parallel is there to Thorfinn's own mother and sister. Much like how he runs into that kind old lady and her daughter earlier in season one, right? Who once again makes an appearance right after he cracks the retainer. You see that his jaw is completely unhinged, broken, eyes popping out. He's lost most of his teeth. Yeah. The thing is, Thorfin himself kind of shocked himself there, right? He's so surprised by this because it was so instinctive, right? He didn't think about doing that. It just happened. At that moment, it kind of reached that boiling point, I think. And to me, it actually felt like the most selfless punch he's thrown ever. Because to me, it feels like he could not listen to anything else this man had to say about Einar. I do believe he instinctively, jumps in for Einar in that moment. Yes, he's really quite surprised and shocked by this, but that in itself should tell him how much Einar means to him now, right? That they've connected on such a level that he was able to go through with this. But you see that the moment he does, take that action, even if it is on instinct, he starts, before he starts, seeing visions of his own father once again, and he's trying to figure out, my father's trying to tell me something. Now, of course, us, the audience, knows his father was all about, you have no enemies. No one is your enemy. That you don't need to hurt anyone. You don't need to kill anyone. A true warrior does not need a sword. All of that. But it appears Thorfin actually forgot all of that, right? Though I think there's more to it. That's not the only thing he's forgetting. Because I'm starting to feel like he actually does not remember his own mother and sister. Up until this point, I just kind of assumed, out of respect for Einar, he does not bring up his own, mother and sister. Especially because, Einar is going to get angry with him. Given the fact that he does have family out there. He has a mother, he has a sister, yet, he's behaving like he has nothing to live for because Einar would let him have it. You have a family out there and you're out here acting like you have nothing to live for, you're empty, right? All of that. But now, after this episode specifically, this is the most I've seen Thorfin open up, right? And share from his past. He's speaking of people like Askeladd and how the vengeance aspect of it drove his life. That was the driving force behind everything he did. Everything. And at a moment's notice, or in a split second, it was all gone. And since then, he's just been empty. But once again, at no point does he bring up his family. So I'm beginning to think, this whole concept of, I'm forgetting something really important, something I should never forget. I think it's a combination of a few things. Because, of course, at first it's alluding to that. Thor's trying to tell him something. He's trying to remember something his father's trying to tell him as he is kind of slipping back into that abyss. And also, he's seeing the sweet old lady as well, right? Flashes of her. And, it's interesting that he's seeing both of these individuals specifically after cracking this man. You see that, these people that tried to help him and tried to help him from that path or help him, get away from that path immediately start popping up. But yeah, I feel that this cliffhanger and then going into the next episode, oh my goodness, this is about to be something special, isn't it? After such an incredible episode already. And yeah, to me, it really does have this distinct feeling of, okay, this is important right here, this moment. Listen, it might not be easy, and I doubt it's going to be a fun experience. Of course, it's probably going to be quite horrifying, him having to face his demons once again. But I think this could be a massive moment. It could be. Ultimately, to grow as a person, as a character, he's going to have to face the person he is or used to be. And listen, he's been facing that for some time now as well. A lot of time to himself to think about his actions. But I think, they only kind of reach to a certain level, to a certain point. Right? He's not really able to go beyond that and actually, become a new person, or at least put himself in a position to kind of start becoming a new person. Here in this episode, you could start feeling the necessary steps being put into place now. But yeah, I think one of the other things that he seems to be forgetting, something really important that he should never forget, is actually his own family. Back in the day, around the time he was still in that tunnel vision, I have to get revenge, all of that. Leif Erikson came across him, and he does mention his mother and his sister. He immediately cuts him off, or he immediately just wants to change the topic to something else, right? But now it's a different Thorfin. Now it's different, right? And also, him potentially forgetting about his mother and sister. That moment earlier, right, in the morning, as he has kind of lost his thoughts once again. You see in the background conversation, Einar is talking about who? He's talking about his late mother and sister, right? He's sharing these really wholesome and fun stories about them, right? As Thorfin is kind of asking himself, I seem to be forgetting something really quite important, right? So that feels like it's really by design. Those kind of things don't just happen by chance or randomly, right? That conversation in the background, it's clearly there for a reason. By now, he must have or should have mentioned his mother and sister to Einar, right? Because they have that bond now. They have that connection now. The brotherhood is there now, right? It is. And as time goes on, he's going to come across other people that can kind of perhaps relate to him, right? More connections, more bonds, step by step, as the grandpa also mentioned. Listen, how cool is that character? That old head of the story at this point in time. He does not care that these are slaves. He's teaching these young men some applicable skills, life skills, and imparting some really important and crucial life lessons as well at the same time, for both of them. Of course, one portion of it is really quite applicable specifically to Thorfin, given that he heard his story, his life story essentially up until that point. And I just love that he's open to helping him out, right? And there's that moment, he's like, Thorfin kind of stops. The whole fishing thing, he stops to think, can I be reborn? And he immediately tells him, keep your hands moving, keep busy, right? Step by step, slowly, one by one, one thing, then another thing, keep moving, start building towards something new, step by step. Keep your mind busy. Don't linger on your old self if that is something you are trying to shed. That is something you are trying to leave behind. This right here is one of the best impact characters of the show, of the anime. Again, I can't quite say the name just yet, but the grandpa. Let's call him Gramps for now. He is such a fantastic character to have. And I love this for Thorfin because in this state of mind, in this phase of his life, he's still in a position that he is able to receive a lot of input, be it from Gramps, this old head, be it from this empathetic friend that he really needed. Listen, I touched up on this, I think, in the discussion for episode 1. Here you have someone who can listen to Thorfin, right? Who can empathize, who does empathize, clearly. Who can do his best to actually give his opinion, right? Try to help Thorfin make sense of it. It's not just deaf ears. It's not falling on deaf ears. Einar is actively trying to help Thorfin as best as he can, right? As best as he can. Bless him. I love him. I love Einar so much. I do. And like I said a few episodes ago, I think these two together and their relationship and how it might build from this point on and then seasons down the line is one of my favorite things in media at the moment. But yeah, I was certainly hoping for this, and it's happening, right? He has someone he can confide in, that he can unload a lot of these really difficult and complicated feelings and memories and thoughts. Keeping that all to himself is not a good thing. It was not a good thing for Thorfin. So to me, it all goes back to that point I made earlier. He is so lucky to have someone like Einar in his life, to have someone like that come into his life. It's beautiful. It's beautiful stuff. It is. Listen, earlier in the episode, I mentioned that I forgot to look up and, I had to kind of cut myself off because of the dialogue on the screen. As you know, I don't really like speaking over the dialogue. I'm speaking of the production list of this anime, the cast list, essentially, in terms of, who's doing the storyboard, who's directing, the animation director, and, a bunch of other positions as well. It's something I'm really enjoying now for anime as well. It's something I do for film. I've been doing it for film for a long time. I take a deep dive into that aspect of it because to me, it feels like a much more immersive experience. I'm not the type who can just watch a film and move on. No, not at all. That's just not it. But yeah, now, I'm getting to a point in anime that I'm seeing a lot of different things at this point. It's kind of adding up now. And then the moment I saw who's directing this episode, yeah, it checks out. It's the same director from season 1, episode 24, end of prologue. That's why it felt so special. That's why the direction of this episode was so noticeable, so fantastic as well. And then Kawajiri is credited as a storyboard artist in this one. That is a name I'm certainly going to, look out for in the future as well, because the storyboard in this one is phenomenal. The art direction, storyboard, all of that is just beautiful. Yamada's score is just so engaging and so gripping in this. There's a new piece that kind of kicks in the beginning of the episode, or in the cold open. And then it also kicks in once again right at the end. Oof. I don't know, man. It's a type of music that just kind of sinks into you, doesn't it? Right? That's the type of music that kind of covers me in goosebumps and chills. Anytime a piece of music can do that, it can induce this physical reaction in me. It's something special. I know it's something special, right? And I'm sure many of you can relate. I'm sure. Oh my goodness. Any, potential concerns there might have been, because of the studio change. No. Listen, man, this is incredible stuff on display, right? You see, actually, to me, it even feels like episode by episode, it's actually improving. Every aspect of it is actually getting better and better. So this is just exciting altogether, man. That there's still so many episodes of this season to go, season 2. And then, of course, let's not forget that crucial moment as he does tell Einar and us, the audience, right? He reveals to us as well that he does not hate him anymore. But that, that's something he finds concerning, because to him, it's just this really jarring reality that he has to face, that that's all I was driven by. That's the fuel I was on, and now, years later, that's a really scary thought to him. If you go back to my discussion from episode 5 of season 1, I remember distinctly mentioning there that, yeah, he's going to spend a lot more time with Askeladd than he did with his actual father, Thor's. That's just the nature of things, right? Because he was so young at that point. So listen, yes, it's complicated. It was toxic. It was a little bit strange, but there was a type of connection there. There was this father figure element to this. And I believe I did mention in some of those really early discussions in the first few episodes, episode 5 and 6, 7, around that time, that yes, ultimately he is going to learn his father's lessons, but it's going to take time, right? He's going to stumble through the next phase of his life, but ultimately you see that it is at this point in time now, years down the line, he's finally in a position to grasp those lessons. And, beyond his biological father, his found father figure, Askeladd, and the things he was trying to teach Thorfin as well, especially on his deathbed as well. The things he was imploring him to think about. But of course, the lessons and the memories live on forever. So, it'll be up to Thorfin to make something out of it, to honor his father and continue his legacy. But also there is that aftermath element to all of this. There is going to be a reckoning. There is going to be a hearing, I suppose. Oh yeah, that's a good setup, isn't it? A few episodes ago, Iron Fist Kettle and how he handles those 2 children, right? Now you're going to see it on a different scale as well, through Einar and Thorfin being presented, because the retainers are going to, they're going to want inadequate punishment. They're going to be asking for their heads. But of course, Pater is there. This is someone who can certainly empathize. He's been in the same position as them as a former slave. And I get the feeling he'll probably try once again, like he did with the 2 children, to step in and really explain the situation in a manner that is understandable for Kettle, right? Listen, the retainers are not going to accept anything less than a severe punishment. So if they potentially get off the hook, right? It'll be interesting to see how the retainers react to this. But of course, before any of that can happen, I've got quite the trip ahead of me, don't I? That cliffhanger and a journey into Thorfin's mind. Once again, perhaps the most crucial journey into his mind, into his past. But yeah, I think that does it for this one, folks. Incredible episode, one of the best of the series, easily one of the best anime episodes as well for me. That was just so gripping, so compelling, so raw, yet also full of heart as well, right? I mean, getting to watch Thorfin's slow, contemplative, yet compelling emergence out of his shell has just been so gripping, right? So cathartic. I've been loving it. I've been loving it so much. I mean, I know it's early days still, but yeah, it's got the makings of anime of the year right here, folks. It really does. Though I know, there's a lot of good stuff coming out. There's stuff I'm really excited for. I mean, Pluto is one I'm really excited for. Yes, I saw that trailer, of course. It was all over social media. And, lastly, I just wanted to mention that this anime is now becoming my go-to anime in terms of recommendations to people who might not be into anime. And by people, I mean people I know, right? I'm not the type who can recommend things to random people. To me, that doesn't make sense. You can't really recommend things if you don't know the type of things those people are into. So of course, this being my go-to recommendation is for people that I know, and I know the type of things they might be into, the type of film they're into, right? Listen, not just because you find something incredible doesn't mean it's going to be a clear-cut, fantastic recommendation. Take Dark, the Netflix show Dark, the sci-fi masterpiece Dark, as an example. It became my favorite show of all time. But do I openly go around recommending it to everyone? No. Because the type of approach that show or that type of show or that type of storytelling requires from the audience is not the type of approach that is expected from a lot of the audience. Again, it's not a dig at anyone, but there is a massive portion of the audience that's just not able to sit through that type of show. That requires a lot of thinking, that requires you to be engaging at all times. But yeah, ultimately, this anime is becoming my go-to recommendation in terms of first-time anime for someone who isn't really into anime and someone who I actually kind of know, in terms of their taste and the type of storytelling they're into, the type of film they might be into, other shows they might be into. Because to me, it feels like the perfect transition into anime, right? You can't just put people into the deep end. You can't. So this is the perfect bridge, I think, because of how grounded it is, because of its approach, the subject matter, the thematic elements that make up this story, this incredible story and its characters. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's about it for this one, folks. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in full opacity or perhaps timer-based full length, consider checking out the Patreon page and supporting the channel. If you're interested, the links are in the description and the pinned comment. Also links to social media. That helps the channel as well. Drop a follow on Twitter, right? That helps. That certainly helps. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks. And thank you for your time once again, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for episode 9. Until then, take it easy.